On today's Solo Sunday News, there's some news on AEW's latest signee. Is Mercedes Mone about to get some new backup? More names have been announced for this year's Owen Hart tournament. And what names were at WWE's latest UK tryouts? Hello, and welcome to WhatCulture Wrestling, the Solo Sunday News with myself, Andrew Pollard. I hope you're good, I hope you're well, I hope your weekend is going as well as possible. As for me, apart from being very under the weather, as you might be able to guess, my beloved Wrexham got a fantastic 2-0 win away at Exeter yesterday, so all is good there. Come on, the town. Right, let's start off today's news with a little bit of AEW and more. Specifically, AEW's latest signing. Now, after impressing against Switchblade Jay White on last night's Collision, Kevin Knight has now become officially hashtag All Elite. Yep, I mean, Knight came up short against Switchblade, but he was put over nicely by Jay White in the post-match promo, where Jay basically said how great he was and that he expects to be seeing Kevin Knight, seeing more of him in the future. Taking 2X shortly after this, Tony Khan did the classic graphic confirming that Kevin Knight, has signed with AEW. I mean, there's no details just yet on how long this will be. I mean, AEW tends to normally go with 3-year deals, but I'm sure we will get more details on that in the coming days and weeks. But yes, Kevin Knight is officially hashtag All Elite, and my throat is officially getting its ass kicked by whatever lurgy I have right now. But for those maybe not too familiar with Kevin Knight, the 28-year-old, just very, very talented dude, made his debut back in 2019, headed to New Japan the following year to train as a young lion in the New Japan dojo. He's part of the same kind of group of names like your Clark Connors. You had Carl Fredericks, as he was then, these days better known as Eddie Thorpe in NXT. Alex Coughlin, man, I miss Alex Coughlin and that darn moustache, man. What a talent. It's a shame that he just retired very early. Anyway, Kevin Knight trained in the dojo under Katsuyo Shibata. Did some training under Buddy Wayne as well, I believe, Nick Wayne's father. During his time with New Japan, he won the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles twice, both times with Kushida, and has been also seen in TNA, MLW, GCW, a bunch of other promotions, as well as his work with New Japan and New Japan Strong. Now, last night's Collision match, technically, that was not Kevin Knight's first AEW match, but it was his first singles match for the company. I mean, he previously worked back in 2022. I think there was 3 multi-man tags that he'd done. There was a dark match, 6-man early this year as well. But yes, Kevin Knight is officially signed to AEW. And sticking with AEW, and it looks like Mercedes Mone is due to get some new backup. Last night's Collision, that saw Mercedes defeat Robin Renegade, after which Mercedes once again insulted Billy Starks training, her trainer even, in a post-match promo interview with Tony Schiavone. Not just that, but Mercedes also put over how tough Robin Renegade is, with Renegade then coming to Mercedes' side when Athena eventually came out to confront Mercedes. And then Athena teased to hit the O-face on Mercedes. She went up the top, called through it, got the crowd going, and then Mercedes bailed and pushed Robin Renegade in the way, resulting in Athena hitting the ever-great O-face on Robin Renegade. Now, this clearly furthers an eventual Mercedes versus Athena match. Both women also, as well, I should add, announced themselves for this year's Owen Hart tournament. But it also appears that Mercedes is getting some new backup in the shape of the Renegade twins. Now, on this, Fightful Select reports that there has long been plans for integration between, or pitches for integration, as it words it here, between Mercedes Mone and the Renegade twins, with all involved hoping for that to eventually happen, and it looks like that is indeed happening. Now, Robin and Charlotte Renegade, they first wrestled for AEW back in early 2022. Have since made plenty of appearances for both AEW and more recently for Ring of Honor, including having plenty of previous with Billy Starks and Athena. So aligning with Mercedes Mone, that kind of makes a lot of sense there. So I mean, the twins are also their former NWA Women's Tag Team Champions, beating Pretty Empowered, wasn't it, back in 2023, although if I remember rightly, I think that reign lasted like less than 2 weeks, so it was a very brief reign, but they can still say that they were the NWA Women's Tag Team Champions. Excuse me. Anyway, let's hope that the Renegades work out better than Camille did for Mercedes. Or I guess the way to phrase that would be more specifically, works out better for the Renegades than how things worked out for Camille. As Mercedes, she was fine after the Camille stuff came to an end, whereas Camille, yeah, she's not been seen on TV since, November, when there was that attack angle on her backstage where she was laid out. And I mean, it kind of baffles me a little bit with this one, because, I mean, AEW have been promoting a movie where Camille has a very significant part in it, that being Queen of the Ring and Camille playing June Byers. And so instead of, AEW using the AEW contracted star who has a really big role in this movie, no, instead they decided to use some very tiny supporting players from the film to promote the film. And it just, yeah, makes all the sense in the world. Not right. Yeah, and Camille just far, far too talented to be sat on the sidelines. But that is a different topic for a different day. I'm struggling to get through today, so I'm not going to go into that whole conversation. Sticking with the AEW women briefly, and as mentioned, this year's Owen Hart Foundation tournament is getting going nicely. It's looking very, very stacked for the women. Not just the Mercedes and Athena announced they'll be in the Owen, but so too have Billy Starks, JB Hayter, Chris Statlander, and Thunder Rosa. The winner of that tournament gets a shot at the AEW women's title, all in Texas this coming July. For the men's Owen, so far, we've only got 3 names announced, but they're 3 pretty massive names, to be honest. You've got Will Ospreay, you've got Hangman Adam Page, and you've got Switchblade Jay White, which for me, that's 3 for 3 if you're going for big star power. It does seem that AEW this year is going very much, no pun intended, all out with the Owen, trying to get as many big names in there as possible. And the winner of the men's, of course, they will also get a crack at the world title, which is currently held by Jon Moxley, though the vast majority of fans are pulling for Swerve Strickland to throw Mox a dynasty next weekend because the Death Riders stuff has just been sucking the life out of AEW programming for the longest time, it feels like. Right, wrapping things up with a little bit of WWE news. And it relates to the ongoing European tour, a European tour that's due to wrap up in the coming days. I believe it finishes with Raw in London on Monday, although there might be another couple of days after that of live events, who knows. But part of this tour, WWE has this weekend been holding some tryouts at the UK Performance Centre. Now, Corey Brennan over at Fightful Select has word on some of the names who attended these tryouts. Now, these were names that were at the tryouts yesterday. There are due to be more tryouts today as well. So yesterday's tryouts, there was man like Darius, there was Rio, there was Golden Boy Santos, there was Uzziah, there was Luke Jacobs, Nathan Angel, Rain Leverkusen, Danny Jones, Adam Maxted, European League Football's Iago Rivera, which is a name that's totally new to me because I have no idea what European League Football is until I did some digging on it today. And there was also Bionic from Gladiators here in the UK, which just that put a smile on my face for some reason. Just because, big shout out to Gladiators, man. It's just so much fun. Used to watch the original UK version back in the day, in my younger years, and then when it came back like last year, it's like, yeah, whatever, this is going to be a bit naff, and it's not. It's just a whole lot of fun. Anyway, so yes, Bionic from the UK Gladiators was also part of yesterday's tryouts. Now, this report notes that man like Darius particularly impressed with the tryouts, including regular drills, promo class, and of course matches. I mean, if you've been sleeping on a man like Darius, don't. The dude has it all. He can work his ass off. He can talk his ass off. Probably best known for his work in Progress. Did work a few matches for NXT UK back in the day as well. Has done a little bit with TNA. Another name here as well that grabs my attention is Rio, who is still somehow only 28 years of age, but feels like she's been doing this for ages. I think the first time I saw her was back in, I guess it would have been 2016. It was here in Wrexham, little old sleepy Wrexham. When PCW, Preston Championship Wrestling, came along and they did a few shows for a few years, and Rio was part of that, and it's just like, oh, this girl, there's something here, and has a great look as well. And then since then, she's just gone on from strength to strength again. Obviously, another standout of Progress, 400 odd days as well as Progress Women's Champion. Of course, she did make an appearance as well for AEW at All In last year. That was part of Soraya's entourage, I guess you'd call it. I think as well, she will have, Rio this is, I believe she took a bump from Jamie Hayter as well, because that was obviously when Jamie made a big return, and there was a bunch of people that got laid out in the Iowa. I think Rio was one of them as well. She also popped up in NXT. There was an appearance. Was that? I guess it'd be towards the end of last year, where she was just in the crowd in NXT. But yeah, really, really talented girl. So yeah, it sounds like these tryouts, there's some really interesting names here, man. But like I said, man like Darius is the one that's noted here as particularly impressing. And like I said, for me personally as well, I think Rio is somebody should be signing her up ASAP, because there's a lot of talent there. But right, that has brought today's WhatCulture Wrestling news video to an end. The solo Sunday news. Apologies for my horrendous throat. I'm very bunged up and just generally meh today. So yes, this has been WhatCulture Wrestling. This has been the solo Sunday news. I've been Andrew Pollard. You have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your weekend. I will not be back next weekend because I'm actually off next weekend. Football stuff. So yeah, I'll be back sometime at some point soon. You be well, you stay safe.